Rotimi joins me now from New York to discuss the top story so far. He is an Arise analyst. Let's discuss the deployment of troops to Portland, Oregon, and the FBI's dismissal of agents at the George Floyd protest. Good to have you this weekend. What does full force, when Donald Trump says full force, what does full force mean in the context of law enforcement powers? And are there any legal challenges or concerns surrounding the full force authorization?
Well, that's a very tricky question because we don't know in what context is the president using the word full force, because a full force could mean a lot of things. But in the military terms, it means what it is, full force. They're going to go all out and they're going to treat them as a terrorist organization. And that's a bad precedent as far as the United States is concerned, because the military will go and treat them just the way they will treat any foreign terrorist organizations. Don't forget, the president sometimes around this week actually signed an executive order that tagged Antifa as a terrorist, a domestic terrorist organization. So anybody coming out to protest in Portland, Oregon, that means that they're going to be treated as such. But if there are legal challenges on its way, most likely, yes. You heard from the governor that she's already speaking with the attorney general of the state, and they will move into action as quickly as they can.
Now, there are concerns, Rotimi, about what safeguards are in place to prevent abuse of power, excessive force by these troops.
Well, honestly, there are rules of engagement when troops go out, even though they get the orders from the president, like using full force and whatever term you use, but there are rules of engagement. So the military, in itself, have regulations where they cannot breach. Any personnel, any soldier that breached that will face the consequences. And could face the military court-martial, or at the same time could also face the civilian, charges against them, even if it's out of the military.
Right. So what impact might this have on the right to peaceful protest and free speech? It's clearly against the First Amendment. I mean, some people would like to express themselves. So isn't this against the First Amendment?
Olajay, we are in different times right now. This is a different dispensation. First Amendment matters to a lot of Americans. Free speech is something that America take pride in, that we are the only country in the world that allow free speech, but this is a different era. And of course, you will want to say, nobody's stopping you from doing that, but there are consequences for some things that you're going to say that could put you in trouble. So at this point, people are trying to navigate the waters and see how possibly can I stay within my rights, at the same time make sure I live in a country that tout itself as a free speech country.
Right. So what are the constitutional implications of deploying troops to manage domestic protests, and how might this action set a precedent for future responses to, say, civil unrest?
Well, first of all, I think precedents have been set. We've seen National Guards being deployed to major cities across the country. We've seen in California, we've seen in Memphis, we've seen in Michigan, we've seen in New York. So that precedent has already been set. Whether it's a dangerous precedent or not is the question that analysts are going to be asking in the couple of years and months to come. So right now, people are still trying to think about what is the essence of deploying military, whether National Guard or regular army, on the streets, because that's not their job primarily. They are to defend the territorial integrity of the country against foreign terrorist organization or foreign adversaries. But right now we're seeing more of them on the streets. We don't know whether they're going to lose value or perhaps maybe they're going to, still remain relevant. But they are only answerable to one person, which is the commander-in-chief, and which is the president. And the president wants them to do certain things, they have to follow orders. But critics have actually criticized the president that he keeps federalizing the National Guard. The National Guard is within the ambits of the state governors. They are in charge of the National Guard. The president, in the past, we've seen him actually federalize, National Guard, and use it for whatever purpose he wants them to use it for. So, but again, this is a $1 billion question, that why are we seeing all of this happen at this time?
Now, this brings me to this particular concern as well. I know Tina, the governor, is standing her grounds, but what does this action really, Rotimi, say about the current administration's approach to law and order, and how might this impact the national conversation around police brutality, racism, social justice?
Well, this administration have made it very clear that it's a law enforcement administration. And what we're seeing is just a doubling down of what we saw in the first term of President Trump. And he's trying to make a statement saying that I can keep the country safe. That's the reason why I'm elected. So if you give me the mandates that I'm capable of securing the country and making sure that there's absolute sanity in the society. So I'm just only doing my job. But again, is it something that people will oppose? Of course, we're going to see that. And I think only future will tell whether whatever the president's doing is right or is wrong.
Now, let's move quickly to the George Floyd situation. I think it's almost similar, because that has to do with the freedom of speech and all of that. How might that particular incident impact the public's perception of the FBI's neutrality when it comes to cases like this?
Well, so now we have a new leadership at the FBI, and they've taken a stand as to how FBI is going to be operating going forward. And case in point is the one that we've seen about, George Floyd aftermath, which, some of the FBI personnel were sacked or were relieved of their jobs. This happened back in 2020 during the George Floyd protest. And the former FBI director, Chris Wray, did not see anything wrong in them taking a knee, that no disciplinary actions were actually taken. But the new FBI director, Kash Patel, feels otherwise. And that's what we're witnessing right now.
So what specific conduct or standards did the agents allegedly violate? Because that's the question on my mind. Like, can law enforcement agents participate in protests or express solidarity with certain causes?
Well, first of all, I think the agents actually said they did that just to quell the tension in the air at the time. And they were not the first person that did that. The National Guard at the time that were deployed on the streets actually took a knee as well to diffuse the tension that the protesters are bringing on, and it actually worked. There was nothing political about it. But the administration actually thinks otherwise, and said, hey, it looks more like a woke ideology for taking a knee in support of George Floyd or anybody who was protesting against what happened in 2020 that led to the death of George Floyd.
Finally, before I let you go, Rotimi, so what are the potential consequences for the FBI's reputation and relationships with the public? We know that the FBI is one of the tops when you talk about, investigation around the world. So what's that reputation looking like right after this?
Well, I think it's only time that is going to tell that, the reputation, whether it's going to go, up or down. But right now, I think people are beginning to kind of reconsider, what the FBI actually stands for, whether it's working for the president or is working for, the people. What we've seen in the new FBI director is that it's taking direct orders, or in any way they could please the current president is what he is going to do. and he has demonstrated that over time. So the outlook might not be the best, for the organization. And even the people that were fired, the former FBI agents, are already saying, we're going to court as a result of these actions that were taken.
All right, thank you so much, Rotimi Kade, for joining us from New York to talk about the top stories on the rise in America. So